So I'm here with Joe Simmons. Did the music for You Can't Run Forever. I'm a musician myself, so I'm always excited to talk to
Awesome. Yeah.
another indie composer. I guess I'll start
Yeah.
with when I'm writing music, doing like band stuff. Like I think of like all the bands that inspired me. I'm also a metalhead, so like oh yeah, we're gonna do a breakdown here, like Fall Silent, or we'll do
Of
a
course.
part like Iron Maiden or whatever.
Yeah.
But all that kind of goes out the window if you're doing score for a movie because you're not, I didn't grow up listening to score. I mean, I grew up watching movies, but I didn't grow up listening to the scores. So how does and I guess when you're composing a movie, how does the inspiration kind of factor into that, or does it at all?
Yeah, it does. I mean, and I think that it's definitely not like apples and oranges, like there's definitely a crossover. Like if you, I've had experience, in jazz bands and in classical orchestras and stuff like that. And, anything you can use anything, like any training, any experience, uh, any enjoyments that you have in music at all and experience at all, I feel like you can use in other fields of music, And I kind of took that approach in a lot of my writing. Like I have a classically trained background, but I also love electronic music and like experimental music, stuff like that. So just kind of like being your own person, having your own spin on it is like kind of what it's all about, I think, and I was very grateful to have an opportunity to explore that.
And what's kind of your process as far as like writing score for something? Because you get the script done, everyone gets together to shoot the movie, and
Mhm.
then they give you the movie. Here it is. Write music for it, or do you get to do something like? Do you get to prep well before that? Like, here's kind of the
Yeah.
script. Here's kind of what we're going for. Get some ideas. It may change once the full movie's done, but
Yeah, of course. I mean, because, there were a lot of people in my family that were working very intimately on this project in various ways and others. I was brought on very early, and I was even there for the location scouting of the movie, where we went to different places to see where we could shoot. I brought a field recorder and started just recording a bunch of different sounds, a lot in the woods, so I can get some just sounds that were, going to be present in just whatever the boom picked up in the actual shoot, as well as some stuff like, the house they were in and the deputy station and stuff like that. So I already was creating sort of like a Rolodex of sounds that I could draw from when, and I can hit the ground running with that. And my mom, the director, Michelle, also sent me dailies very frequently, oftentimes literally daily, so that I could get a feel for, what it looked like and see if I can, just explore. And so the preparation that I had to do, like when I actually got the final cut, was very minimal because a lot of that was done already, and I was very grateful for that because then it's just creative, like, 90% creative instead of like 50-50, like, all right, file management and see if I can get these sounds right and see what works with this. It was a lot just creative endeavors and hit the ground running when the cut came, So yeah, that was definitely a huge benefit for me personally.
yeah, when I knew I was interviewing you, I was like, well, I better pay attention to the music. I was really digging it, but like 10 minutes in, it just got lost in the movie. So,
Yeah.
but that's kind of composers do, kind of similar to editing. Like if you notice it, it's not doing its job, except for in
Sure.
very
Yeah.
extreme circumstances.
100%. Yeah. Thank you.
What's it kind of like when you're writing stuff like that? Do you ever like write something like, this is a really cool riff or this real cool movement or whatever, but it sticks out like a sore thumb. We're not using that.
Yeah, they're actually, it's funny you say that because there was one scene that I had to rewrite entirely because without giving too much away, there's just like a chase scene in the middle of the woods. And the first draft that I wrote was like something straight out of James Bond. I was like, oh, this is so epic and cool. And like, yeah, it's so awesome. And yeah, my mom was like, yeah, I don't know, I don't know about this. This is too up here, and like we wanted to kind of be, in your, tense like this. It's not this whole like, here we go. It's like it's scary. Yeah, there were some times, and that was pretty early on in the process, which I'm very grateful for because, if I ran into that several times, then, bunch of rewrites later, then, who knows if the soul of it gets lost, you know? Yeah, I definitely ran into that problem, but not as much as I could have, thanks to, great direction and yeah.
What's it like being in a family of artists? Because, like, some people in my family are artists, some aren't. Usually, like, my parents want to be supportive. So if I show them something, they're like, oh, it's great. But I never really feel like I'm getting the truth from them. But
Yeah.
you're in a family of artists that compete, work on a high level. So I would think that, they want to be supportive, but on the other hand, they don't want to brush you off
Yeah,
with some
because you want to keep
bullshit.
it real. Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, I've had that like internal problem of like worrying if people are, just saying things to like, make me happy or if they're, really saying how they feel. But I've been very lucky to have both in my family and my circle of friends, especially musician friends, people who do like to keep it real, and like tell you if something sucks, like if something sucks, like you're not doing anybody any favors by saying it's good. That was
I
especially the
mean, you
case.
don't want to be a dick about it, but
Of course, yeah, without being, yeah, just a complete about it. Like it's not anything that I really experienced with, my family or friends. But yeah, there were several times where my mom and I would have creative differences and stuff like that. Or in the case where I write something for James Bond and she's like, all right, let's not do this, let's do something else. Yeah, I mean, we all want to make the best project possible. And if that's just at the top of the totem pole, then like everything else is like, I know you're not trying to hurt my feelings. I know I'm not trying to call you out on being stupid or ignorant or whatever it is. It's like, we're just trying to get to here. So like whatever's happening down here is all for the greater good of getting to the best result. My mom and I, especially because we were the ones who worked the most, like intimately in post-production, that was great. That was a really good experience.
Well, I guess we'll and with we have a what's in the box segment, and in the box we have a bunch of movies that we pull from each week to watch the following week, and we have people put movies into the box, and these are movies that are either personal to you or it's like that movie's really good and no one talks about it. Like I wish
Okay.
more people would
Yeah.
see that. What's a movie you would like to put in the box? And also, since you're a musician, we don't have a music box, but maybe give
Right.
me like three bands that we should maybe check out.
Oh, got you. All right. And I'll try to keep them underground. What you're saying? So don't say like the Beatles
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
yeah, got you. All right.
Yeah, yeah. We know about the Rolling Stones. You don't have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
tell us about
yeah. All
that.
right, sounds good. Well, then for movies, I'm gonna throw a weird curveball that might just be the worst of both worlds or the best of both worlds. But No Country for Old Men was one that doesn't really have a traditional score, right? Like there's no songs that you can remember from No Country for Old Men because the composer really focused on like putting you in the ambience and the reality of the situation, right? So that was something that I just absolutely loved. And I listened to a podcast where he talked about it, and I learned a lot from that. And that was an approach that I kind of took to this one, where obviously, there's plenty of traditional scoring with strings and pianos and what have you. But I was really grateful that I was there for the location scouting because I was able to get sounds from the locations and then use them in creative ways in the score. And in a couple of scenes in particular, that's kind of all that I was doing, to the point where it is kind of No Country for Old Men. I'm saying that as humbly as possible, not trying to associate with that, but where there's no notes, like it's just kind of textural and ambience and what have you. So I would say, yeah, No Country for Old Men for the movie. And then as far as artists, bands, I've been on kind of an electronic music kick again. I go in waves, man. Like I have like a punk phase and then a hip hop phase and then an electronic phase and then classical music phase. But just some of my favorite music of all time comes from people like, well, I'll give a couple from some different genres. Tchaikovsky is one of my favorite classical composers of all time. I'm just a huge Romantic era fan. I played classical percussion growing up, and he's just one of my all-time favorites. And then as far as other music, some of the mixing in some electronic music from people like John Hopkins or DJ Space Laces. Both of them create such amazing textures, and in two completely different worlds of electronic music. One of them is very ambient, spacious, rich, and one of them is very more like dubsteppy rhythm. But the textures that they both bring are just brilliant, and I just envy their work ethic and their minds so much. It's so genius. Yeah, and I could go on and on and on, but you said three. I'll give you three.
Cool. Well, You Can't Run Forever comes out May 17th, and you can't run forever, but you can run a little bit until you watch the movie because it's really great. And I'm really happy for you and your family. The fact that you can all come together, and even talking with Olivia, like the fact that you all come together to make a movie as great as this just seems like a blast, and it turned out well. So congratulations. And
Thank you. Yeah, it was a blessing. Thank you.
I look forward to seeing more of you guys coming together and making more of these bangers.
Yes, sir. Me too. I appreciate you. Appreciate talking.